Thank you. Welcome everybody to our June 7th, 2023 Consortium of Cities meeting. Glad folks could make it here in person and also, of course, virtually. The first item of business, I'm going to just review what the agenda looks like. Mark Rosen, if you need to pull that email up, is the send an agenda again. So we'll do our introductions. We have called the meeting to order. We have an update. Well, actually, we're going to go right into our. I might have the wrong list here. We're going to go right into. Oh yeah, sorry. We're going to go right into our gun violence prevention update. We've got a couple state representative folks from the Capitol that are joining us this evening, which we really appreciate, to give about 15 minutes or less in regards to updates. And then we have our annual presentation from Boulder County Transportation on the Countywide transportation sales tax, that annual update that we received. We'll have a brief update on the regional minimum wage. And then number 5 on our agenda may happen here or it may happen next door. TBD. We will not be taking our normal break so that we can exit sooner than 8:30 this evening. And then all the information Mark sent just in regards to the other pieces. First, let's start with introductions, and then after our presentation from our folks from the Capitol, we do need to make a decision about our August meeting. And so those of us that are in the room, you'll get a marker and you're going to vote. And that's how we're going to choose our locations. So that, and then we're going to get into, because that is not going to get moved into a later time. So that's the plan. So introductions, we'll start online and I will do my best to make sure I've got folks here. So let's start with, if you do your name and then your title or the organization who you're representing this evening is great. Appreciate everybody being here. So Kathleen, and then Brad, and then Stacy.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. I'm Kathleen Brackey. I'm the Deputy Director for Boulder County Community Planning and Permitting and lead our transportation planning team.
Thank you.
I'm Mahold, Netherland Trustees online.
Thank you. Brad, if you want
Harry
to.
Harrison, Erie Trustee.
Thanks, Trustee, for joining us.
Holly Rubin, Mayor of the Town of Lyons.
Thanks, Mayor, for joining us. Brad and Stacy, Angel, if you want to jump in and do an introduction, and if not, we'll move over to, let's see, Caleb, Rachel, and then Ken.
My name is Casey Proctor. I'm a project manager with community planning and permitting on the transportation planning team. Kathleen.
Thanks for joining us.
Good evening. I'm Angel Bond. I'm the Mobility for All Program Manager, also with Kathleen's team at Transportation Planning Division.
Thanks for being here.
Is it me now?
Yeah, go ahead. Thanks.
Yeah, Caleb Dickinson, City of Louisville City Council. Yeah.
Thanks for joining. Rachel and then Ken.
Rachel Gadecki, the new capital improvements project manager for Boulder County.
Great, thank you. Ken? Can you hear us, Ken?
Yeah, oh, sorry. I'm having trouble with my with the audio. Ken Larsick from the town of Jamestown.
Thank you for joining us. And let's go to the room. Council member?
I'm Lauren Folkert, council member for the city of Boulder. Tired, apparently.
Thanks for joining us. We have snacks.
Taylor Ryman, city of Boulder, staff assistant to city council.
Thank you for being here.
Miranda Fisher, town administrator for the town of Netherland.
Thank you. Martha Loachman, Boulder County Commissioner.
Nick Robles, staff with Boulder County, filling in for Mark.
Thank
Sean Coy, at large for Longmont City Council.
Great, thanks for joining us. So, all right, we're gonna go to our presentation and we have Representative Amy Joseph here to give us an update about gun violence prevention from the State House, and then we'll hear from Senator Lewis in regards to the same topic. So go ahead. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Locheman. Good evening, everyone. My name is Junie Joseph. I'm a current state representative. It is truly an honor to be here with all of you as well. I'm thrilled to meet with both familiar and unfamiliar faces to be part of this really important conversation tonight. So in average year, 800 actually, and 50 people died, and 466 are wounded by guns in Colorado. In Colorado, the rate of gun deaths increased 41% from 2011 to 2020. In Boulder County, we've seen our fair share of gun violence, and I am so proud to be working at the state legislature with my fellow senator here, Harkes Lewis, on gun violence prevention. We have taken some important steps to help make Colorado one of the 10 safest states in the country and build upon the ongoing work to make Colorado communities safer. This session, I was a member of the Gun Violence Prevention Caucus. And through that caucus, 4 major pieces of legislation came through. And I'm sure Senator Harkes Lewis will be able to talk more in depth as part of her presentation. But ultimately, we did pass 5 bills to improve public safety and reduce gun violence. So I will name some of them. One bill will require a waiting period to deliver firearm, increase gun violence victims' access to the judicial system to be able to seek remedies. Another bill will increase the minimum age to purchase firearm from 18 to 21, barring exceptions. And the fourth will expand extreme risk protections or extreme risk protection orders. I also had a bill, Senate Bill 279, which I worked on specifically. It originated in the Senate with Senator Rhonda Fields and Senator Henson as the prime. The bill bans the sale and possession of unserialized firearms, commonly referred to as ghost guns, that are often assembled with do-it-yourself kits. And this particular bill actually was an ask from many municipalities, more precisely Aurora, the mayor of Aurora, and also others in the criminal justice system. Regulating ghost gun is a critical step toward reducing the number of weapons available to violent criminals and protecting our community from harm, while maintaining the ability of law-abiding citizens to access regulated firearms. As you know, if you remember the East High School, that young person actually used a ghost gun. So this particular piece of legislation was very, very timely, and I'm very proud to have worked on it. And as a member of the Gun Violence Prevention Caucus, we will be looking at future and more legislation in this area. But ultimately, at this time, I can't speak on them because they have to come from that caucus. Thank you again for having me, and I will pass the baton to Senator Harkes Lewis. And then if there's any other questions I can answer for you, I have more information on these particular bills as well.
Thank you. And I always encourage folks to put their contact information in the chat so that people can connect. So if there's updated information you want to put in there, please feel free to use the chat that way. Senator Harkes Lewis, thanks for joining us. And we're putting your slides up here that you've sent ahead. You heard that presentation, so a few of those pieces you don't have to repeat, but we'll let you jump in, and we really appreciate you being here to talk about gun violence prevention at the state level.
Yes, I'm so honored to be here, and I apologize, I'm in transit, but the timing worked out so that I think we're in good shape. So these are the 5 bills that Junie was referring to. And actually, hold on just one sec here. Okay, there we go. I was one of the founders of the Gun Violence Prevention Caucus. We actually talked about doing it last year, but with everything else we were dealing with transition of Senate leadership and other things, we decided to wait and do it this year. Representative Joseph, it was super helpful to have the caucus as a way off of each other, gathering data, gathering information about which bills would be the most important. But I would say the vital piece of the Gun Violence Prevention Caucus is it allowed new members of the House and the Senate to meet with many of the gun violence coalitions. So this was the 5th year that I was an elected official, and I've run a gun violence prevention measure in all 5 of my years, usually working with 1 or 2 of the gun violence prevention coalition members. So those would be the Moms Demand Action, Everytown, Brady Campaign, Giffords campaigns, Colorado Ceasefire, and sometimes Blue Rising. Those coalition partners, we couldn't do it without them. The 5, I think you're all fairly familiar with them, but let me ask Marta, do you want me to just say a word or 2 about them, or it's really whatever you would like to do?
Sure, yeah, no, I appreciate that. I think because folks have heard about most of the legislation, that it might be a better opportunity for folks to be able to ask some questions if they have any questions about that legislation. Unless you want us to go to the second slide so you can talk to that one and then open it up for question and answer for both of you.
Yeah, I tell you what, I'll touch on my bill and then the others you can read a description. But the reason why I'm very proud of 168, it's the first time ever that we can find that we had presidential support. So President Biden actually called it out by name, and he started talking in his speeches about the need for firearm immunity, to get rid of firearm industry immunity. So let's take as an example that someone did sell ghost gun parts, the bill that Representative Joseph was talking about. There's, we don't have an enforcement mechanism unless someone turns that in, or consumer protection. And if they want to go to court, our bill sets up all of that. In fact, the part describing the ghost gun parts of the last bill that was just signed by the governor was taken from our bill that removed that section from our bill 168 and have a separate bill for ghost guns. And so we did that, but our bill becomes the enforcement mechanism, because now anyone in the firearms industry, if they violate the law or violate consumer protection laws, and there's a 3rd law that is on the books, they can actually be taken to civil court. And that's how the folks in Connecticut were able to sue the manufacturers from Sandy Hook, because the court allowed them to use the Connecticut consumer protection. So our bill is giving us now that authority, and it removes the language that was penalizing Sandy and Lonnie Phillips, whose daughter was murdered in the Aurora Theater shooting. They actually had to file bankruptcy because of trying to take ammunition dealers to court. I'm actually going to the White House next week. I was invited to do a panel about 168. The president tweeted it out the night that Governor Polis signed it. And so I think we're going to see more and more action. Colorado's leading the way. They're using our bill 168 as the bill to encourage every state to pass, because Congress is not taking any action. But we can go ahead to the second slide. I think there's some more discussion-oriented items on the second slide. I would love your feedback on, if we can do that. And I can start in on the slide until we can get it changed. It might be on my end that it's not changing. I put up there the two bills that did not pass. It's the assault weapons ban and then House Bill 1165. That would have given counties the authority to do more management of firearms in private lands and unincorporated land. I don't know if that bill is going to come back or not. I was one of the Senate sponsors. The other Senate sponsor dropped off the bill, which is a sure sign of trouble. So, but I have some ideas, some concepts on the second slide. Are you able to see the second slide yet?
Yes, we're looking at it.
Okay, good. I am not seeing it, but I'm going to do it by memory. Let me see if I can do that. I put on the side there some ideas for the next session, and I would love any feedback that anybody wants to ask me about or give to us about what you think is important. And from memory, I believe.
Do you want me to read off what's on there?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. So if anyone has questions about the section that says what's next, gun dealer licensing, CCW training, or permit to purchase, that would be great.
Yes. So those are the ideas that were tossed around as potentials for this year. And I think some of them could come back. The permit to purchase was actually passed statewide in Oregon. There have been some enforcement issues because some of the local sheriffs are refusing to enforce it. The gun dealer permit, that I believe the governor has already said he would not sign that. So that is always something that we take into consideration when we go and try to pass bills. Sometimes I've certainly passed bills that I wasn't sure if the governor was going to sign it or not. I got my first governor veto today on a crucial housing bill that I'm very disappointed about, but we passed it and we'll come back and try to pass it again. The third one, will you remind me again what the third one was? Gun dealer permit to purchase.
CCW training.
Yes.
And then we do have a question here in the room.
Great. And I'll tell you really quickly, the concealed weapon training, there's that, and I know that Majority Leader Duran in the House is going to run that, I think, no matter what. So I'll stop, and I'd love to answer questions if I can.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hi, Senator Sonia. This is Sean McCoy from Longmont. And I have a question for you. When I was listening to Colorado Public Radio, they were talking about how sometimes how you had a ranking system for bills that move forward and not. Did your bill fall off because of the ranking system, or did it fall off because of maybe a rethink on that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'd love, if Rep. Joseph is still on, I'd love her take on it also. The ranking system is mostly for budgetary. So if your bill has a budget allotment from a fiscal note, from a fiscal analyst, it will then usually be thrown into the pot to be ranked. None, well, don't let me say none. Most of the gun violence prevention bills do not have fiscal notes associated with them. I believe Senator Fenberg's ended up with a small fiscal note. And it was really interesting the way that took place. But no, I would say the answer is not because of the ranking that 1165 did not make it. It was having to do with, oh, good, and I can see the chat just now too, so great. It was because when a Senate sponsor drops off a bill, that sends a message to the caucus that there could be a problem with the bill. Also, it took up a whole bunch of time in the House, and Senate leadership said, we already have 5 bills. They were approved by the caucus. That bill 1165 never went through the caucus, the GVP caucus discussion. And so maybe it should not have come up. So all of those issues, along with probably a couple of others, doomed it almost from the start.
Great, thank you. Anybody else have questions for either one of our state reps?
Well,
I do. Thank you so much, Representative Joseph and Senator. Hi, it's great to see you.
Hi, great to see you too.
Thank you for all your hard work on what was by all accounts a bananas session. And so I share your disappointment about that housing bill, because I tell you what, we in the town of Lyons would have loved to have first right of refusal on some properties here. But my question is about the assault weapons ban. And so the status is postponed indefinitely. But do you see that coming back next session in any form?
So great question. I'm asked it anytime we talk about GDP. I would say there is the will by the GDP. We would love to do that. We wanted to set the stage by passing underlying bills in a particular order, because we felt like it would give us more experience on GDP. It would set the stage for enforcement, set the stage for the AG's office being ready to go on that. There's a governor role in it. I'm not sure that the governor is actually said that he would sign it. I also believe we want to do a comparison to Washington State, which signed it, and I believe Illinois, and there may be two other states. We want to compare, do we have similar bills that we have passed? And after that analysis, I think the GDP caucus could come to an agreement that we might want to do it. I'll spend just a second more. One of the main reasons why we did not have unanimous support in the GDP caucus for the assault weapon ban this year is because all these other bills were deemed by coalition members and ourselves to be almost more important because we needed that underlying premise. We needed to, and all the other states were ahead of us. They had already passed a waiting period. They'd already passed raising the age. And we felt like we needed to get to that point and have another year of seeing how those went before we tried the assault weapon ban. It will grind business to a halt for days in the Capitol. And we felt like we needed to get these done first before we grind everything to a halt. So I'm not giving you a clear answer on if it'll come back, but I think many of us want it to try. We want to try.
All right. Thank you so much.
Trustee Harrison, and then we've got another question.
Thank you, and thank you very much for all the work this past session. And yes, it was a banana session. I'll agree with Mayor Rogan on that. In regard to what Oregon has done in other states with what they passed, is there going to be data that we can access from what they've been able to do that will be able to provide evidence and support for, hey, it's caused a decrease in gun shootings or mass shootings, et cetera, or any other thing? Is there access to that will help support it?
That's a great question. We're hoping there'll be two avenues to get that kind of data. The Office of Gun Violence Prevention, which is in the CDPHE, we can ask them to do research on gun violence questions and data and collecting information for us. So we're hoping they could cooperate with Oregon to try to get that. The other place is, I believe this is being housed at CU, is it Dr. Betts, I believe, is also doing research on gun violence prevention and how it relates to that state's legislation. And so we were hoping to have two different avenues, but I'm right with you, Art. I would love to, is it Art or Ari? Sorry, I can't.
It's Ari, no worries.
It's Art. Okay, sorry about that.
I've been called worse, trust me.
Yeah. I'm reading off my cell phone, which is tiny, but I would love to be able to gather that because it makes our case stronger if we're going to run the permit to purchase, based on what Oregon is seeing.
All right, and then the follow-up to that is, do you feel that there's proper funding for the office that oversees that for either short-term and long-term?
That's a good question too. I started out the session giving CDPHE a hard time about the Office of Gun Violence Prevention because, and that caused a little bit of waves because they weren't reaching out to the community, to the coalition members about how to launch that office. Now I think they're back on track. and we had several stakeholder meetings about that. They could have applied. And I understand that they were going to change years until to apply. I'm hoping that they are going to change years and that they will apply for it. I think, to be honest, when you think about how important this life is,
Senator,
think
we're
we
losing your
got
connection
some
a
of
little
that.
bit.
Yeah, we got some of that.
You've
We
been
got some
in
of
and
that.
out.
Yeah.
So I wonder if,
Sorry about that. I could tell it froze. I'll close and say, because of how life-saving it is, how important, my guess is they probably don't have enough money, because I think we should fund this as much as we can.
Okay. Thank you.
thank you. And Rep. Joseph, there's a question here in the room for you.
Hi, Rep. Joseph. This is Sean McCoy from Longmont. And I just had a question. You said something all of a sudden that the mayor of Aurora, who is the mayor of Aurora? Is that who I think it is?
I believe it's Mike Kaufman.
Oh, are you kidding me? Really? Because that guy couldn't support a gun bill when he was our representative in Congress, but now he can do that.
Yeah.
How convenient.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, this bill had a lot of, by the way, I can't see you because I think somehow my screen is frozen a bit as well. But this bill had a lot of bipartisan support, and a lot of the different DAs were there, as well as during the bill signing. And again, I think Ghost Gun is something that everyone should be able to get behind, but I have to tell you, during the legislative session, we didn't have the support of one Republican. And this type of legislation is what we were hoping that we would get their support on, because we all know how having ghost guns in the community is unsafe. It's unsafe for all of us. It's a public safety issue. It's one of those bills that, it's not a Democrat issue. It's not a Republican issue. It's a community safety issue. And we were very disappointed that we didn't get their support on this particular bill.
Now, on the second slide of Senator Lewis's presentation there, and this is still you, Representative Joseph, there was the one around the multi-action trigger that failed. But what if somebody buys a thing that can make any gun into a multi-action, rifle or pistol? Is that something that's going to be pursued in the future?
Well, there's certainly opportunity for future legislation. We just have to make sure whatever bill that we run, it's constitutional, right? We can't for sure know whether we'll have the support of our Republican colleague on those particular bills, but ultimately there are opportunities for more bills. Even for us as well, we were thinking of adding more actually legislative pieces to 279. But because we were so far into the session, we just thought we have other bills and our colleagues have other bills as well. So we decided not to add more components to that particular bill. So yes, there are opportunities to close more gaps into our gun legislation and gun violence prevention.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great, thank you. Any other questions for our safe folks? Doesn't look like it. And there's contact information in the chat. So if you do have other questions, I know as folks are working on bills for this upcoming session, they're super interested in input from all around the county. So thank you both for joining us. Thank you for your hard work and for giving us an update specifically to the consortium. We really appreciate it. You're welcome to stick around, and we also know that you have other work, I'm sure, to continue doing as well. So thanks again, we appreciate it. And
Yes, thank you all so much. Thanks for your interest in this, and it's great to see y'all.
Thank you so much. I'll stick around because I wanted to hear the update on the living wage. So I'll just stick around quietly and I'll mute myself. Thank you.
thank you. So just as a reminder, the consortium was asked to talk as a regional group, along with a lot of other electeds after the mass shooting in Boulder, about what we could do locally. And so I have an update from the Boulder County legal team. And so this is all I'm supposed to do is read this from an update standpoint. In October of 2022, Rocky Mountain gun owners and several individuals filed a lawsuit against Boulder County, the city of Boulder, the city of Louisville, and the town of Superior, challenging certain provisions of their assault weapon ordinances. The defendants agreed to stay enforcement of certain provisions of the ordinances related to assault weapons and large capacity magazines while the case is being litigated. The case is now in the discovery phase, with both sides having exchanged expert reports and other documents. No permanent injunction hearing has been set in the case, but we expect it will occur in early 2024. So that's the update of the ordinances and all the collaborative work that we were all involved in. And just want to acknowledge everybody who was part of those conversations in a response from a local opportunity based on the previous year's legislation that allowed us as local governments to do something with our own capacities. So that's, we heard from some state update, that's some local update. And so thank you everybody for that. What we're going to do now is move into we need to choose an August 2nd location, because as y'all know, Band on the Brick starts I think next week. And so it's just, there's too much noise, too much parking, etc. So for the folks in the room, sorry, those of you online, you're just on hold for a minute. Those of you in the room should have gotten a marker. Do you need one? So we have two folks who offered their location. So we're doing a quick vote here. The options are Lions and Netherlands. So we're going to travel. So those of you who are here get to put one vote next to one of these. And we're literally going to do this in like 30 seconds. It's not hard. I know. So it's Lions and Netherlands. And I'm sure folks online are lobbying for them.
You know, it's about closeness. It's about interesting. It's about interesting. I'm interested in going to the middle.
Tom and I are biased, I think.
Okay.
Hard since you live so close to me. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this is when you should be in the room, actually.
There you go. Got it.
Okay.
I'm putting in the lines because she don't want it.
Oh, you did get a vote.
So the Netherlands won the vote, which just means we'll go to Lions afterwards. So
Excellent.
perfect.
It also means that Tom is buying the beer.
Yeah.
Yep,
Perfect.
it does.
Okay.
Sorry, ready?
Thank you all. It's just a decision we need to make, and I don't want to keep that pending. So we appreciate that. We'll coordinate with Netherlands and appreciate your offer, both of the offers of hospitality. So
Great.
done. Next, we're going to go to item 3 on our agenda, and I want to welcome, as I always say in this consortium meeting, as elected, we chose to work 24/7, but our staff has not. And so I want to acknowledge all the staff that are participating here for these meetings, and also for Nick, who's jumped in running this show for the first time, and I appreciate that as well. So I'm going to turn over the presentation to Kathleen Brackey, who is going to lead our presentation, and I know there's some other staff, so we'll let you go ahead and take it. There is, I think you had, what did we have? 30 minutes total for the presentation, but I want to make sure that we have time for questions. And so thank you so much for being here.
Sure. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here tonight. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I'm Kathleen Brackey. I'm the Deputy Director for Boulder County's Community Planning and Permitting. division and lead our transportation planning team. I've joined here tonight with several colleagues, including Christine Opendorf, who's the interim Public Works Director for Boulder County. Also from our transportation planning team includes Stacy Proctor, our project manager, Angel Bond, who is our mobility manager, and Alex Heitwright, who's our regional planning manager. I also want to introduce Rachel Gadecki, who's new with Boulder County and has just joined as the capital projects manager. So we're excited to be here with you this evening and share this update on the transportation sales tax, and certainly want it to be interactive and make plenty of time for your questions and suggestions as we go along. We do have a slide deck to run through quickly. Oh, thank you, Stacy. It's always exciting when the technology works. Even after we do this all day long, you never know.
Thank you.
But we're going to, Christine and I are going to tag team the presentation with you this evening, and we could go ahead and move to the next slide, and we'll go quickly through this again, so we have plenty of time for Q&A. But the purpose tonight is really to share with you the status of Boulder County's transportation sales tax, our current funding, as well as the new funding that was approved by the voters last November. We're very excited, very thankful for that. Talk about some of the current projects and then projects that are coming up and that are being planned, and then certainly want to make time for your questions and input this evening. So we'll go ahead to the next slide, please. So we want to start at the very beginning by saying thank you. And thank you to all of you. Thank you to all of the voters in Boulder County who voted to approve and support the transportation sales tax extension on the ballot last fall. That was a 1C. You'll hear us refer to that, but it's very important, very necessary. It truly is the opportunity to continue what we call our bread and butter funding for transportation. It's the funding we use for all of our multimodal transportation projects and programs and services. It's the funding that we use as our local match to go out and get grant funding so that we can leverage the county funds and stretch those dollars as much as possible. And so we're truly very, very thankful. We've had that funding in place now for over 20 years and been good stewards of that funding. Again, with the input and the guidance from the Consortium of Cities each year, and we want to continue that as we go forward. Some of the new aspects of the 1C extension include funding in perpetuity versus the 10-year increment, and then also identifying some investment categories that we'll talk more about this evening. But I'm going to go ahead and switch to the next slide and hand it off to Christine.
Good evening. So as Kathleen was saying, the last 20 years, we have been stewards of the countywide sales tax. And what we have done with those monies is added 97 miles of shoulders to have space for our bikes and other multimodal traveling public. We've improved 13 intersections. We've added 23 miles of regional trails, supported 9 transit services and programs, and replaced 3 bridges and 6 pedestrian underpasses.
So I can cover a little bit of this information. Again, it may look familiar. It's the information that is on Boulder County's transportation sales tax website and information that was included as part of the ballot information and materials last fall. But I think it helps to provide a visualization of what do we mean by these investment categories? What are these types of projects and programs and services? And again, they're meant to be multimodal and serve people using all modes of transportation, all ages and stages of life, and all needs. So there's the broad range from the roadway safety and resiliency projects, our human services, transportation mobility programs. Angel Bond leads that team. Really looking at how we're providing services for vulnerable populations, older adults, people with disabilities, and youth. And then the importance of our regional corridors. Again, many of us work on these corridors together, and it's about creating those linkages and connections across Boulder County and to and from Boulder County communities. So those are a really important part of the mix. along with our regional trails and bikeways and our transit services. So the idea is it's a whole set of services that help people move about Boulder County in every mode of transportation. Next slide, please. Again, this is just some additional information, and there's more details on this in your packets. I know I don't expect you to be able to read the list of projects on the screen. I know it's tiny, but this is in your packet. But again, looking at those categories of investment and how are we able to include all of those different areas, and then the list of projects that we've provided and is on our website is the idea of how to program these dollars and anticipating forecasting for these dollars for the first 15 years of the transportation sales tax extension. So just as a reminder, we're currently in the last year of our existing sales tax, and then the extension begins in mid-2024. The sales tax funding for our forecasting purposes, we use approximately $9 million per year of anticipated revenue. So we look at that and say, well, okay, what can we accomplish over that first 15 years? And then how can we go about that together? An important aspect of these project lists is the dollar figure that's listed for Boulder County transportation sales tax is just a portion. We know that transportation is expensive, and it takes all of us, working together to go after funding at the regional level with the Denver Regional Council of Governments or through Colorado Department of Transportation, Regional Transportation District, and now with the new federal infrastructure bill, how do we use these dollars to pool together and go after federal funding as well? So the idea is that we create these projects together, and it takes all of those partnerships to leverage all of the dollars to bring about the desired outcomes. So next slide, please. And there we go. And this is just a map showing more visually the types of projects and the areas across Boulder County. We really want to make sure that we're covering the whole county, and again, connecting community and connecting to and from Boulder County. We can go to the next slide. I'll hand it back to you, Christine.
So we had so much that we were able to add to our transportation multimodal system in the last several years, and we plan on adding several more in the next 15, which includes a very aggressive 52 miles of regional trails and bikeways, 35 miles of transit service, 6 more bridge replacements, trying to make our system resilient, and then adding 4 new pedestrian underpasses and improving several intersections by adding safety improvements. And then, of course, continuing our planning studies, continuing programs, matching funds. A lot is on the books for us in the next 15 years.
One of the things we did along with that 15-year list of projects is do some analysis around not only how can those projects help us achieve our mobility goals, but how can they also help us achieve the co-benefits of our broader sustainability goals, air quality, and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So this information is from a report that we did last year, looking at what the emission reductions would be for that package of projects, that first 15 years of investment. And again, giving you some flavor around the types of investment, the level of investment and return on investment we get for the different types of projects. So the blue is the transit, the gold is pedestrian projects and trails, and then our roadway projects. So each one contributes in different ways, but we wanted to take a look at that emission reduction analysis as well. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide. This is one we were really excited and excited, I guess is the word, to share this evening. Truly a team effort, again, with Boulder County and all of the local communities working together. Over the past year and a half, there's been a lot of grant opportunities available. I mentioned the federal funding. The Denver Regional Council of Governments had what they call their Transportation Improvement Program, 4 different calls for projects. and that we applied for. And it was really thrilling and rewarding to know that all of that hard work over that past year and a half, all the partnerships that came together, we've been able to do a tremendous amount of really, coming out of the gate already, leveraging the Boulder County transportation sales tax funding. So when you look at this list, it's a whole variety of types of projects within the Dr. Cog TIP projects. There's transit and intersections and safety, bikeways. There's all types of Vision Zero safety improvements, and then our human services transportation as well for school-aged children and families, for our mountain communities, and then more broadly, our mobility programs. So we've really tried to be opportunistic and go after as many grants as possible and be able to, again, leverage these dollars and partner together really is the key word here. It's all of those partnerships contributing little bits together is what adds up. So from the Boulder County sales tax, the amount is about $2.4 million, leveraging almost $56.5 million. That's a tremendous amount of resources to bring in for multimodal transportation across Boulder County in the last year and a half through the grants. Now, it's important to note that these grants are programmed for specific years. Some are starting in 2024, others are programmed to begin in 2026. So that also goes into our financial forecasting, looking at what projects and what local matching dollars do we need to have available for which years that are coming up. But it's a tremendous leverage. So we're really excited about that. And again, we wouldn't be able to do it without all of you and all of your communities and your staff working together with us. So next slide. Back to you, Christine.
Thank you, Kathleen. So this is a significant list of the things that we plan to tackle in the next couple of years. Some of these projects we've already been either designing, some of them we're constructing this year. So we, through our sales tax dollars, we're able to help Lafayette fund their road widening at South Boulder Road. And we're working with Longmont to improve portions of East County Line Road from Zlatin to St. Vrain Creek. We're finishing up phase 2 of a project that we started with the city of Boulder that will connect Lookout Road up to Highway 52, and also that we ended up working with CDOT on this to improve the intersection between 71st Street and Highway 52. We're looking forward to replacing the structure at the Foothills Reservoir Inlet on Hygiene Road. Currently, as part of our Road and Bridge Fund, road maintenance is out there paving and improving Hygiene Road itself. So this will be a great new corridor coming forth. In the next couple of years, we're looking at construction of doing some widening on 95th Street from Boulder Creek to Lookout Road. 120th Street shoulders, we're ready to go on that. We're just trying to coordinate a little bit with Lafayette on when we don't want to interrupt the public too much by having 2 areas closed off to them at the same time. So we're coordinating with them on the construction of that. We're doing the Sunshine Canyon Drive overlay, which is from the city of Boulder to the end of the pavement. We're also doing culvert replacements on Sugarloaf Road. And, a huge effort that came out of the East County Line master planning process, which involved Weld County, Longmont, Erie, and of course, Boulder County. We're able to tackle the second project out of that, the first one being this Latin to St. Vrain Creek, of which we are widening and adding shoulders on East County Line Road from Quicksilver to Pike Road. And it will also add a roundabout at the Pike Road, Weld County Road 20.5 and East County Line Road intersection. We're looking at doing some reconstruction of South Boulder Road as the concrete is starting to fall apart. Niwot Road and the Cottonwood Square, we're working with the neighborhood business association within Niwot to work on some pedestrian connections there. We're helping Longmont out or the sales tax is helping Longmont out with the 66 widening. And then, of course, we're working with City of Boulder on the intersection safety for 61st and Valmont. And then, you know, with all this new stuff, we have to make sure that we're maintaining our new items as well as the old. And there's some emergency repairs that we're working on up on the Boulder Canyon, and, you know, continued maintenance of the bus stops and multi-use paths. All of these which really help, you know, improve the safety and resilience of our multimodal transportation system within the county and into the cities and towns.
Great, thanks, Christine. That's a lot. It's a long list for sure.
Yes.
You know, especially when you kind of see it all put together in one place. I also wanted to just share some of the information on the regional corridors that we're actively working on and will be continuing to work on. And again, these are, you know, all of our communities working together on the Colorado 119 corridor between Longmont and Boulder, including the transit and commuter bikeway improvements and safety improvements at the intersections. It's a very high crash corridor, so a lot of the intersection improvements are specifically designed to address crash mitigation. We're also working on Colorado 7 from Boulder to Brighton. Again, it goes through, you know, so many of the communities in throughout Boulder County, and then linking Boulder County all the way out to Brighton. Again, that's a multimodal corridor. Similarly, working on US 287 from Longmont to Broomfield, and looking at all of those components as well, the transit, the safety, and the commuter bikeway. One of the new regional corridor projects that's just starting this year is being led by DRCOG, is a South Boulder Road corridor plan. Again, looking at how to get that project and that corridor up on par with some of these other regional corridors we've been working on for a number of years. So that's very exciting to see that be added to the list as well. We can go ahead and go to the next slide. And then our ongoing work with the regional trails and bikeways on the Lobo Trail, the J Road connection, the St. Vrain Greenway Trail. We really want to be able to work together in partnership with the town of Lyons to help bring that project forward. That's a very important link of the trail system within Lyons. And ultimately the plan over time is for the St. Vrain Greenway Trail to connect all the way from Lyons to Longmont. So every piece of that we can get going is fantastic. Continuing to work on the commuter bikeways along, like I mentioned, Colorado 119. And then also continuing the work on the Boulder to Erie trail. So everyone calls it BERT, which I think is great. So we just need to find another one named Ernie, and then we're all set. So that's exciting. And then a new project that kicked off just recently is the bikeway feasibility study along US 36 Foothills Highway between Boulder and Lyons. Again, another very busy corridor for people using all modes, but especially a lot of bike usage in that corridor and a lot of safety concerns. So, and then a new project that was funded through the DRCOG TIP grant is looking at a off-street bikeway connection between Lafayette and Boulder. So lots going on the regional trails and bikeway front. And next slide, please. Great, thank you. And then when we, these are some examples of the transit services that we're funding through the transportation sales tax. Again, it's a wide variety, including local service like Ride Free Lafayette, which is on-demand service for the Lafayette community, regional service within Boulder County, such as the Lyons Flyer, which is our pretty new service that has started between Lyons and Boulder. It replaced the service that used to be called the Y that was operated by RTD. They suspended that service during COVID, so Boulder County has picked up working and delivering that service, and it's been rebranded by the Lyons community as the Lyons Flyer. An example of our interregional service is continuing to use a portion of the sales tax funds to invest in interregional transit, which is the Flex Express. The photo there, that is co-funded not only by Boulder County, but by all the local communities from Boulder, Longmont, Loveland, and Fort Collins to provide that interregional service along 287 and 119. Coming into Boulder County from Larimer County, and it's operated by Transport. So we've got a whole variety of different types of transit services that we're using these funds to deliver. And again, working in partnership with the communities, with RTD, with CDOT, and with the other neighboring communities to, figure out how best to augment and create interconnected services together. We can go to the next slide. And then these are some examples. I mentioned our mobility programs earlier. They're really centered in Boulder County's new coordinated human services plan that was approved last year by the commissioners. It's the first time Boulder County has had a human services transportation plan. Really shout out to Angel and her team for the work on this and the work with the community and stakeholders to create that plan. And so wanting to make sure that we're investing in those mobility services so that we can help people have access to where they need to go. Often we have different services out on the street, so to speak, the different types of transit, for example, but people need help to understand how to use it. There's a lot of barriers and complexity to figuring out fare systems or how to link trips together and things like that. So there's a lot of one-on-one customer assistance that's provided through these mobility programs. And we're thankful to be able to use a portion of the sales tax to support these. And yep, we're kind of getting to the end. Again, we try to share a lot in this short amount of time as we can. A lot of this information in more detail is included in your packets and is available on our websites, including the project list. There's an interactive map where you can click on different projects and see them. And then certainly if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us anytime about these. But again, we want to leave the time for your questions, and we'll just open it up for conversation.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation, the information. And we have a question here in the room.
So when Highway 7 was being, this is Sean McCoy, when Highway 7 was being reworked up to Allen's Park, many of us took the Jamestown road up to the Peak to Peak Highway. And I noticed that that last 2 miles before it got to the highway was not paved. But I also noticed that in the summer, a boatload of bicyclists were going that way. And if you're doing that safety issue between Lyons and Boulder on 36, it seems that so many are stopping there at the Green Bar and going all the way up to the Peak to Peak Highway and then looping back on 7. And without that road being finished, it's now it's just a dirt road that last 2 miles. It was obvious to me that many people who were biking there just were turning around ahead of time. And it seemed like if we were working on Highway 7, it would make logical sense to have that piece finished. And so I didn't see that on the list of things, but as somebody who, does things up in that area, it seems like a logical thing to have that piece connected. It's really literally 1.5 miles or 2 miles of road that isn't finished at all. And it's too bad, because I think there's a lot of folks that would use that instead of getting on Highway 7. And it's a less traveled road for a lot of people, and maybe would make it a little safer for bicyclists.
Who wants to tackle that question?
Yeah, Christine, would you like to? This is the Colorado 7 section, west of Lyons.
It's the Jamestown.
So are you talking more like left-hand canyon going up that way towards Jamestown, then before it connects to State Highway 7?
Yeah, yes, before it connects, just there's literally a maybe less than 2 mile section that's all dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems to me that would be a nice thing to keep. There's so many bicyclists on there in the first place, and Highway 7 is getting used more and more. it would make sense to have that completed and then allow those people either go into ward or circle back down.
Right. I'm gonna have to investigate a little bit more as to, you know, where it's at. Well, okay, well, obviously, what is the history of that portion? Why hasn't it been paved? I don't believe it ended up on our sales tax.
It wasn't, that's why I was
list.
asking.
Yeah,
We can
So-
connect you to by email, Christine.
yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Happy
I'll
to
put
do that.
my, yeah.
Yeah, you can throw that in the chat. Any other questions? Oh, go ahead, Councilman.
Yeah, so you mentioned some things around bus transit particular, and I noticed that some of the routes you were talking about were routes that RTD had, you know, there was a lot of routes cut during the COVID pandemic. I guess I was just wondering, in terms of services being brought back, you know, if you have any more information on, like, for instance, Boulder to Ned right now, I think is running once every 2 hours, which is, you know, it used to be a pretty popular route. And so I guess I'm wondering, would this be a program that might potentially make up some of those cutbacks, or are we hoping that RTD might be backfilling in some of those lines in the future?
I'm sorry, I was having a little bit of trouble hearing the whole question. Was it around transit service?
Yeah, it was around transit service and the cuts that RTD has made during the pandemic. And I gave the example of the Boulder to Netherland line.
Right.
And if that's gonna come, if we anticipate frequency coming back, or if that's something that Boulder County might look at trying to fill out more in terms of service in the future.
Thank you. So a couple of things. One, we are trying to use the funding that we have to help what I call augment or create a layer approach with what RTD is able to provide. Some of the services that RTD has had to pare back are regional in nature, and those are harder for us to come in and backfill, but services that are more within Boulder County, we've been trying to use these funds to do that. So like the Lions Flyer that I mentioned, that's an example where RTD cut that service on the Y and we restored it with a new service. Again, it doesn't run as frequently perhaps as the Y used to, but we're trying to build it back. Similarly, there's the new service that is being planned in partnership with the city of Boulder for a gun barrel on-demand service. RTD had to cut some service in that area, fixed route service, and so we're looking to partner to put in some on-demand service that would link to the Bolt and other transit in that area. So we're trying to do what we can to fill in with the resources that we have available. On a more holistic level, one of the grants we were able to receive through the DRCOG process was to do a countywide transit plan beginning next year. And that's where we can really look in depth, holistically within communities, connecting communities. What are the transit needs? We now know what RTD system optimization plan is. They've been very clear about what they are and are not planning to do as they have more drivers. And so how do we use that information and create a more complete transit plan countywide, and then start identifying how could we start leveraging more resources into transit to augment and build upon what RTD can do. And then thinking about, again, that interregional transit, CDOT is starting to operate like Mustang service, and they're going to be stopping at I-25 and 119. Are there other opportunities to link together, not only with RTD, but with CDOT and then locally? So it's a really good question. It's complicated, and we're trying to find ways that we can do as much as we can, and then again, continue to go after grants together to augment what we can do. We were just successful over this past week in securing our grant funding from the, well, it's not grant funding, it's the American Rescue Plan Act funding from the Federal Transit Administration that is intended for the Boulder County small urbanized areas. So that funding is available now through 2029 to start helping to augment some services as well. So we're trying to be opportunistic and find the resources we can, and again, work together with our communities and with RTD to build back service as best as possible. And I don't know if Alex or Angel or others want to add to that.
Thank you for that. I'm really excited to hear that there's a regional plan in the works. I look forward to seeing the results of that.
Thank you.
Trustee?
Thank you. So the only question I have is, you obviously mentioned, Kathleen, in regard to the RTD having their challenge of getting drivers. And how about what we're trying to do to shore up that? Are we able to get drivers as well, that we can pay a competitive salary or living wage so that they can be able to do that if RTD can't get their own? Are we, do you know any information in regard to that? Are we able to secure that for those new services that we're bringing up to speed?
Sure. Good question. And so what we have been doing is Boulder County doesn't directly operate the service with Boulder County employees. We put out a request for proposals for contractors to bid on the services. So for example, Via Mobility Services operates the Ride Free Lafayette and the Lions Flyer for us. And I'm not aware of them not being able to hire enough drivers for those routes. So, you know, Via has done a really good job being responsive and having the drivers. I'm sure they struggle as well, maybe, and they do probably have a lot of, you know, different incentives or things to attract drivers. But I would have to say Via has been very responsive and delivering those services for us, and any of the new services going forward would be put out to bid in a competitive manner as well. So you know, I'm sure it's a challenge for all of the operators, but we've been very fortunate to be able to have the routes filled for the services that Boulder County leads.
Right, and I think it's just the world we live in today, and it's trying to keep it sustainable for them and keep those services up and running. And I think it's a challenge from a communication standpoint for those particular who offer those services that we bid out to be able to give that information to Boulder County and to others to say, at least ahead of time, to say, we're running into issues here of hiring X. We might have impacted services here, and then communicating that out to the public in a way that they can receive, so that they know what to expect. And I'm sure that's the biggest challenge. The other thing is, thanks for everything that everybody's doing for Erie as well, and the connection that we're doing in between our neighboring communities as well, especially on Highway 7, which is going to be interesting. A lot of patience for people who are going to be driving on that road for the next couple of years, as if that's something that we all know that people don't have a lot of these days, but we do appreciate it. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
And I'd like to address the resources piece, at least in terms of the Lions Flyer. We have a much beloved bus driver for the Lions Flyer who now knows everybody's name, and she's wonderful, and she even bakes people birthday cupcakes. So she's become a part of our community, and we're so grateful for it and for everything that Boulder County has been doing to help us weather this storm. So just much appreciated.
Great, thank you for sharing that story. That was one of the most incredible stories. And it really is what connects you to the people who, the customers on the bus are, and the drivers, they get to know each other because it is within the community, right? It's not one day you're driving a route way over here and another you're driving one clear over here. People get to know each other and they know those connections. So the Mobility for All program held an event last fall around driver appreciation. And it was just incredible to hear the heartwarming stories of the drivers and the passengers and how much they mean to each other every day. It's just that personal connection. So I think it does make a big difference, and for both, for the drivers and for the customers.
Thank you all. Kathleen, I wondered if you could just speak to, because this report, as folks remember, comes to us annually. How can our electeds provide feedback, input, talk about prioritization or any other questions that really will inform your department and of course the board and county commissioners on that 15-year plan?
Sure, great question. And I mentioned this is really all of the result of our ongoing work together. So in addition to the Consortium of Cities meetings, each month we host a meeting with technical staff from the communities across Boulder County. It's the Boulder County DRCOG Sub-Regional Forum meeting. It's not a very spiffy name. It's easy to say, or doesn't have a good acronym, but we do get together once a month and talk about different regional transportation initiatives, different grant opportunities. So that's a opportunity to talk more about this. And then every other month we have a meeting with the elected officials that participate in the Boulder County Sub-Regional Forum. So I recognize many of you from there. I know there's also new faces tonight. But so that ongoing Boulder County Sub-Regional Forum is a great way to stay connected, both on the technical level as well as at the policy level with the elected officials. But also, I see there's a lot of activity in the chat. I think feel free to reach out anytime to any of us. We're here. We want to be supportive of the needs and the work that we're all doing together and support your local communities. So you can reach out to us anytime too.
Great. Thank you all for being here to present and to respond to questions. Thanks, Kathleen, for your leadership, and Christine as well. So
Thank
with
you,
that,
everyone.
I would encourage folks to reach out because it's regional and that you all have the ability to give some input on here. So appreciate that. And thanks to Angel and Rachel and Alex for being here and being available as well. So let's move to our next item, which is number 4 on the agenda, which is our update on the regional minimum wage. And I'm going to turn it over to Councilmember Volkert. I will just share that I've heard from folks all around the community. There's emails going on, there's coalition building, there's a lot of lobbying happening, and we're having conversation about minimum wage just here in the county, period. So thank you for taking on this subcommittee of the Consortium of Cities and leading the conversations and the work.
Hey, thank you, Marta. Oh, can I do a quick request? Can we get the link sent out that just went up in the chat for how we can find out more and weigh in on things?
All these links get to be sent out with Mark's update.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that. So all the presentations that we've seen so far, and then the links will get sent out in the follow-up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, so for minimum wage, as we started looking toward outlining engagement and sort of scoping what the next step looked like, it became, there was a lot of interest in sort of making sure that the communities who had signed up to start to be a part of this really had a firm understanding of what we're doing and what the plan is going forward. So we've had meetings with both Boulder City Council and Longmont City Council to share out a presentation around sort of what the steps have been that we've gone through, what the information is that we've collected, and what working together what the next steps are in this process. So with Boulder City Council, we asked several questions both around timing and concerns around just trying to get an overall idea of where people are at with this. And we heard back that there's a lot of excitement around moving together in a regional effort. But then some concerns about trying to do the level of engagement that people wanted to see by this upcoming January 1st implementation deadline. And then we also got some specific areas of concern. You know, things like unemancipated minors and whether or not we want to have special carve outs, or how, you know, how we want to address unemancipated minors, small businesses, and the healthcare industry where people are often tied by federal reimbursement rates. We also more recently, just not last night.
Yeah, it was.
Last night. We went to the Longmont City Council and gave basically the same presentation. I don't know if you want to summarize.
Well, okay, I want to compliment you and Taylor for your hard work coming there and presenting there. It was, I think it cleared some things up. My biggest struggle was trying to get a beat on what my previous counterpart was doing here at the consortium. And then apparently this has been rolling since 2019 and not much had happened there. So I sent out, after our last consortium meeting, a email to some folks, some stakeholders, and folks that are involved. And boy, did that get the ball rolling. And I think that was great, because then we got Councilmember Faulkner and Taylor come out and present the side from where Boulder was coming from with this and get a lot of information out there. We had groups from that were part of the labor groups come out and speak on this, and then we also had the Longmont Chamber of Commerce representative, Mr. Scott Cook, come and speak on behalf of where the Chamber of Commerce was, which I think part of it is getting those stakeholders all in the same room and starting to have that conversation about that. And I want to compliment both of you in regards to how you presented it to our council. I think finally, even though we have a activity that we do once a month before our housing authority meeting, where we meet for about 1 hour in our side room, and it's filmed and everything, and we all share out what's happening with our boards and commissions that we serve on. Well, I served out, shared out last month, and people talked about it, but no real feeling of where people were at with it. So I'm like, okay, that's not helpful at all. But I think last night I got a better feeling from the council about moving forward and staying as participants in this, because nobody wants to go and put in the effort that I can see that Councilmember Faulkner is putting in if nobody is going to give me any sort of feedback on this, because I talked to them about it twice before, and crickets chirped and everything, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't seem like that's a very good way of moving forward. And so I voiced that at our last consortium meeting, because I was clearly thinking, well, maybe I don't understand it completely, and that was good to kind of get these things rolling, because they had never given me any solid feedback on this, and I'm here to listen and to report back and to make maybe some simple decisions and agreements here, but no IGAs like what we're talking about here, and that's certainly not my role, and so I want to make sure that we're not spinning our wheels. And so that was very, very helpful. I want to, again, third time compliment both of you for that, because I think it was very helpful. And I think the nice thing that was a takeaway was how you had said in your presentation that we don't have to recreate the wheel. If Boulder and Longmont figure it out, talking now to our crowd, online, then we can figure out how to proceed and not have to try to come up with some new way of making it work for Erie or Louisville, Lafayette, or Superior, and the other folks in between. And so that was important to me, because I did not feel comfortable before. And now I left that meeting feeling much more confident that they were at least ready to have those conversations and get more stakeholders involved.
Yeah, it was a great conversation. It was nice to be able to hear back from all of your entire council and sort of hear what concerns each member had. If anyone online would like, I feel like we have the road show together. If there's any interest in having us come and give sort of that similar presentation and just give a feed from your entire council or board of trustees, I think we would be more than happy to do so. I think it's a really, there is a lot of opportunity here for us to share the work and to make this sort of a lighter lift for all of the cities. But I think that we can do that most effectively when we have a really good idea of sort of the interest level of all the communities involved. And so I think it would potentially be beneficial to your council, but also it would be really beneficial to the working group to have that information and feedback as well.
Well, I'll say that our Board of Trustees has gotten voluminous emails about this from the mailing list. I can't remember who it was through, from people all over the state. And then I was contacted by a lobbyist to talk about it. And what I told the lobbyist is this is going to be a heavy lift in Lyons because we only have small businesses. We have no chain stores, and our businesses operate on a razor thin margin. We're a tourist town. So many of them have to take out 0 interest loans from the town to get through the winter without closing. So we're just very, very different. But that having been said, our Economic Vitality Commission is going to be taking this issue up later in the month. So if someone can come and talk to them, we'd welcome that. And then we'll see, as we progress, if it makes sense to come before the Board of Trustees. But, I got to say that a couple of business owners that I talked to in town were like, we would have to close, period. And so, I think it's going to be a heavy lift in this town.
Thank you.
Definitely come talk to Louisville.
Okay.
We'll figure that out.
And I can certainly talk to our board as well, just to visit, even though we're not participating actively in it. As you all know, Erie is split between Weld County and Boulder County, and that division is very real. And with the small businesses, it's kind of the same as Mayor Rogan is talking about, where their margins are pretty small. And they're just coming out of COVID. So I think, waiting to see where things stabilize. But I'll certainly talk to the board and see if it, just from an information perspective, just to see where you are, it would be helpful. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Taylor.
Hi, everyone. Taylor Ryman, staff, City of Boulder. So Lauren's been our fierce champion on this for the last year, and I've been privileged to be her sidekick in that effort. And looking forward, I'm really excited to work with Boulder County and Longmont on what our next steps, and just to give you an idea of what those next steps are contemplated as, is essentially it's scoping financial analysis and scoping engagement. Of course, scoping is different than an implementation, but it is encouraging to hear that you might want to bring this presentation to your communities, because of course, scoping will be very much changed by the participation of different groups. So to the extent that we can get a feel for other folks' willingness to join, that would be helpful. And in addition to that, I'm gonna try and see what we can do in that scoping effort to not only create off ramps, in a process that would allow communities to, should things not align with their community, they could exit a process, but also on ramps for folks to join perhaps later. We have right now, it seems, the 2 largest communities in Boulder County ready to at least scope the effort. And so that's giving us a lot of momentum forward. But this is an encouraging conversation and I appreciate it.
Thank you both. Any other questions? When should we expect another update? At the August meeting?
Sure, maybe we can talk offline.
Okay. Totally fine. So I won't add anything to the agenda right now. Okay, thank you. All right, folks, we have 4 minutes because halftime is over. So we have on our agenda, just this is the time if folks have community updates, anything otherwise, community events that you want to share, I would say feel free to put them in the chat. Otherwise, anybody who wants to give some updates, how about like a 30-second, what's the key event that's happening in your community in the next 30 days or so that you want to share about?
I heard about a really exciting one in my city, the city council meeting at Longmont last night.
Go ahead.
The Juneteenth, what was that, on the 17th? Sounded like they had a really great event starting the day and also some really great speakers in the evening. I don't remember.
Comedy, and it's a comedy showing at the Longmont Theater on Main Street between 5th and 6th on Main. So that's a Longmont activity for Juneteenth, and it's in Roosevelt Park from approximately 1 to 5.
Right. There are Pride events happening all over Boulder County. So if you haven't jumped onto that, Boulder County, I think there's Lyons, Longmont, what else is on me? Lafayette. There's several different locations. So I would encourage folks to check that out if you haven't yet.
I would just advise people to stay up 36 on Saturday for the Ironman. It's going to be busy. I have one quick question, real quick question, just that Consortium, and maybe people can put in there, because many of us are going some of us are going to the Colorado Municipal League. I just wondered who might be going, and maybe there would be a time to meet up and talk.
Oh, great.
So put it in the link and we can get that, because I'm going.
Yeah, if there's other folks that want to catch up with Councilmember McCoy at CML, so put your name in there in the chat so we can make sure you get a chance to talk. Any other updates on folks? I can see a couple in the chat. Thank you, Mayor. Good. All right. Any other additional items folks need to throw in there? Nobody wants to come between me, we did. Yeah, it's so kind. Yes. Okay, so we can adjourn our meeting. We can stop the recording. Reminder that we will be in Netherland on August 2nd. So plan accordingly. It would be great to see folks in person if you're able. There'll be a hybrid option available. And so we appreciate that. And thank you everybody for your collaboration. I would really encourage these folks participating to give some input on that transportation plan. That is why the transportation department is coming to all of us, and it's considered your approval by being here and participating. So just want to be really clear about that. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to staff.
Like I can share that to all of Boulder.
Yeah.
More the merrier.
Great.
Feedback.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the game.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Go Nuggets.